She booked a quiet weekend in a cabin, but her billionaire boss was there and never let her go. Sophia just wanted a quiet weekend away from everything. No deadlines, no city noise, and definitely no boss. But when she opened the cabin door, he was already there. Liam Hart, her billionaire CEO, cold, unreachable. And now, the only other person trapped with her during a snowstorm. What started as an awkward mistake turns into something neither of them expected. Because sometimes, the person you were trying to escape from is the one you were meant to find. Before we continue, if you enjoy touching and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Now, let's get back to the story. The snow crunched under Sophia's boots as she stepped onto the wooden porch. Her breath curled in the air like smoke, swirling into the quiet of the pine forest around her. The mountains stood silent, wrapped in white, as if holding their breath. She hugged her coat tighter around her body, her cheeks flushed pink from the cold and the long drive. She had booked this weekend months ago, a quiet escape, alone. No emails, no deadlines, no Liam Hart. And yet, when the cabin door creaked open before she even knocked, her stomach dropped. He stood there, in person, in a navy blue sweater, not a suit, holding a steaming mug. Liam Hart, her billionaire boss. She froze. He blinked once, clearly just as shocked. Sophia? She stepped back instinctively, heart racing. What are you doing here? I was about to ask you the same thing. A gust of icy wind rushed between them. Sophia's suitcase slipped from her grip and thudded against the wooden floor. Inside, the crackle of a lit fireplace hummed, casting a soft amber glow across Liam's face. I booked this cabin, she said, eyes narrowing. A month ago, through the company travel portal. I needed some time to myself. Liam's jaw clenched, but his voice stayed calm. I booked it through my personal assistant. Same weekend. Her heart sank. Great, she muttered, rubbing her forehead. A double booking. Perfect. They stood there, neither knowing what to say. Snowflakes began falling again, fast and thick. Liam stepped aside. You should come in. The storm's getting worse. I don't think that's a good idea. You're welcome to stand outside until the road disappears, he said, looking past her to the growing blizzard. I won't stop you. She hesitated, then stepped inside, dragging her suitcase behind her. Warmth rushed over her skin. The room smelled of burning pine, fresh coffee, and something vaguely citrus. It was rustic but elegant, like the kind of cabin you'd see in a glossy magazine spread. Exposed wood beams, soft rugs, books stacked beside a worn leather armchair. Liam shut the door behind her. Silence. He placed the mug on the counter and turned to face her. We'll call the booking office in the morning. I'll take the guest room upstairs. You take the one near the kitchen. Simple. Sophia opened her mouth, then shut it. What else could she say? She nodded tightly and rolled her suitcase toward the hallway. A sharp gust slammed against the window, rattling the glass. Sophia flinched. Liam watched her for a beat, then walked back to the fire. They said the storm might last the whole weekend. Of course it will, she muttered under her breath. As she unpacked in the small, cozy room, her mind raced. Why him? Of all people? Why now? She had spent almost 2 years working in the marketing department of Hart & Vale. Liam Hart was brilliant, precise, and completely unreadable. People admired him, feared him, whispered about him in the elevators. She had always stayed quiet, professional, invisible. Until now. She changed into warm leggings and a sweatshirt, pulled her hair into a loose braid, and wandered back to the main room. Liam was reading by the fire, sleeves pushed up to his elbows. Without the suit, he looked different, less perfect, more real. He looked up. "Hungry?" She blinked. A little. "There's soup in the pot. I made enough for two." Sophia paused, then sat on the edge of the armchair. "You cook?" Liam's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "You sound surprised." "I didn't think CEOs knew how to hold a spoon, unless it was made of gold." That earned a real smile. Brief, but there. They ate in near silence. The soup was good. Warm, comforting. Something homemade. Lentils, carrots, herbs she couldn't name. When she finished, she curled up in the armchair and watched the flames. "Why here?" she asked finally. "Why this place?" Liam stared into the fire. "My father used to bring us here before things got complicated." She glanced at him. "Complicated how?" He didn't answer right away. The fire popped. Snow battered the windows harder now, like impatient fingers tapping on glass. "Let's just say family doesn't always mean safe," he said, voice low. Sophia felt something shift in the room, like a thread pulled too tight, finally loosening. She looked at him closely for the first time. Not the CEO, not the public figure. Just a man. Tired eyes. A tired heart. "Sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to dig." "It's okay," he said. "No one asks. Not really." She let that sink in. Then he turned to her. "And you? Why'd you run off to the mountains?" Her lips parted, then closed again. "Because I was tired of pretending. Because the city made me feel invisible. Because I needed to breathe." She settled for, "Because I needed quiet." They sat like that for a while. Just the fire, the storm. Two strangers who weren't strangers at all. Later, when Sophia finally stood up to go to bed, Liam said quietly, "You don't have to be so guarded with me, you know." She stopped in the hallway. "You're my boss." "I'm a man in a cabin," he said, "just like you're a woman in one." Sophia didn't look back, but her cheeks burned all the way to her room. She shut the door behind her, locked it, just in case. Outside, the wind howled louder than ever. And inside, in a cabin neither of them had meant to share, something had started. Small, invisible, but real. A door had opened, and neither of them knew yet whether it would be a way out or the beginning of something they couldn't escape. The wind didn't let up all night. Sophia tossed in bed, the wooden beams above her creaking with every gust. Her phone had no signal, not even a bar. She tried reading, then scrolling through old photos, but her mind kept going back to the firelight and the man sitting across from her. Liam Hart, the one who didn't smile, the one who barely looked at her in the office, the one who suddenly, in a snow-locked cabin, had confessed something heavy and personal, without saying much at all. She didn't sleep, and by morning, the world outside was gone. The windows showed nothing but white. Snow had piled high, swallowing the porch, the trees, the road. Sophia stared out the window, heart sinking. She heard footsteps behind her. Liam appeared with 2 mugs of coffee, his hair still damp from a quick shower, his jaw shadowed with stubble. He handed her one without speaking, then sipped his own. "We're stuck," she said flatly. "Looks like it. No phone, no internet." "Yup." "No way out?" "Not unless you've got snowshoes and a death wish." She gave him a look. He grinned slightly, and she rolled her eyes, but smiled, just a little. They drank in silence. Then she asked, "You always this calm when the world freezes over?" He shrugged. "Panic never helped me much." Sophia nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess I'm just not used to stillness. He looked at her. Most people aren't. That struck something inside her, a truth she hadn't wanted to name. They spent the morning cleaning the kitchen, organizing shelves, checking the pantry. There was enough food for the weekend, barely. A lot of canned goods, crackers, some dried pasta. It would do. At noon, Sophia found an old board game on a dusty shelf. Scrabble. She raised an eyebrow at him. Up for a challenge? Liam leaned back on the couch, arms crossed. You sure you want to lose to your boss on your weekend off? She smirked. I'm very competitive. Good, he said. So am I. The game started simple. Light teasing, strategic moves. But by the third round, something had shifted. She played the word shield, and Liam paused. You ever feel like you walk around with one of those all the time? He asked. She glanced up, surprised. You mean, like pretending? He nodded. Yeah, like you're always protecting something, even when you're not sure what anymore. Sophia stared at the board. The tiles blurred for a second. Yeah, she whispered. I know exactly what that feels like. He didn't push. He just nodded, as if saying, me too. They played 3 more games. She won the last one. By afternoon, the snow turned into icy rain, pelting the windows. They moved back to the fire. He made tea. She found a blanket. It was quiet, but not awkward. A kind of peace had settled between them. So, Sophia, Liam said eventually, tell me something real about you. Something I wouldn't know from a resume. She hesitated, then smiled. I used to sing. Like, seriously. Wanted to be on Broadway. No way. Oh yeah, jazz, musicals, even wrote a few songs. But life got practical. He tilted his head. And now you write email campaigns for vacuum cleaners. Exactly, she laughed. Dreams really do come true. Liam chuckled, then leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Why'd you stop? She shrugged, but her voice dropped. My dad got sick. Mom left. I had to help out. Music didn't pay the bills. Liam didn't speak right away. Then, softly, I'm sorry. She nodded. Me too, but I don't regret it. I just miss the version of me who believed in bigger things. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I used to draw. Sophia blinked. What? Sketch. Paint, even. Before I took over the company. Liam Hart, the CEO, painted? He chuckled. I was a kid. My mom said I had an artist's heart. Then my father found out I skipped finance club for an art class. He took all my sketchbooks and threw them out. Sophia's stomach twisted. What? He told me to stop wasting time. Said I'd never survive being soft. The fire cracked sharply. That's why you're always so precise, she said quietly. Like you're measuring every move. He looked at her then, really looked, and for a moment, neither of them were their titles. Just 2 people with forgotten parts of themselves tucked away. I guess you're not what I expected, he murmured. And what did you expect? He tilted his head. Someone who would freeze the second something went off script. She smiled faintly. I'm used to chaos. Their eyes held. The air felt warmer. Then the power went out. All at once, darkness. The heater stopped. The lights blinked off. They both jumped. Sophia groaned. You've got to be kidding. Liam stood, already moving toward the utility closet. Stay here. I'll check the breakers. She followed anyway. Grabbing a flashlight from the drawer, they found the panel, all switches off. Liam flipped them. Nothing. This isn't just the breakers, he muttered. Something must have frozen outside. No heater, no Wi-Fi, and now no power, she said. Is this your idea of a romantic weekend? He glanced sideways. Depends on who I'm stuck with. She laughed, caught off guard. So did he. And for the first time, it didn't feel weird. It felt easy. They lit candles, bundled up in blankets. The fire became their only heat source, the only light. And slowly, the night crept in. They sat closer than before. Shoulders brushing, conversation turning soft. Sophia looked at the flames. Funny how quiet it gets, without everything else. Yeah, Liam said. Makes it harder to hide. She looked at him. You hiding something? He didn't answer right away. Then, maybe. The fire popped again, sending sparks upward. Outside, the storm raged on. And inside, between two people who never planned to know each other, something was melting. But just as it felt safe to settle in that quiet moment, a sound shattered it. A voice message, loud and distorted, crackled from Liam's phone. One he must have downloaded before the signal cut out. It was a woman's voice, cold, sharp, unmistakably familiar. Liam, you can't keep ignoring this. If you don't end it with that girl in marketing, the board will find out, and you will lose everything. Sophia froze. Liam's face went pale. The silence that followed was heavier than the storm. Sophia's heart dropped into her stomach. She stared at the phone as if it had teeth. Her breath caught in her throat. Liam scrambled to mute the device, his hand shaking slightly, but the damage was done. The message had echoed through the cabin like a gunshot. Her voice was steady when she finally spoke. Was that about me? Liam didn't answer. That silence said everything. Sophia stood slowly, the blanket slipping off her shoulders. You need to explain what that was. Now. He ran a hand through his hair, face tense, jaw clenched. It's not what it sounds like. It sounds like someone thinks there's something between us, she said, her voice rising, and that you're hiding it from your board. There isn't, Liam said quickly. I mean, there wasn't. At least, not before now. Her chest ached. Before now? Liam took a step toward her, then stopped. That was Miranda, my ex. She's on the board. We dated when we were younger, before I took over the company. She's bitter, controlling. She saw me talking to you a few times at work and started making assumptions. You never said anything, because nothing was happening. I didn't want to drag you into it. Sophia folded her arms, trying to hold herself together. So instead, you let her talk about me like some office fling? No. His voice cracked, barely above a whisper. I tried to protect you. From all this. From her. The wind howled again, but it was nothing compared to the storm now rising between them. I thought this weekend was an accident, she said, voice breaking. But now I'm wondering if you wanted to be here. If this was your way of… No, he said firmly. I didn't know you'd be here, I swear. I wouldn't do that. She stared at him. His face was open, vulnerable in a way she had never seen before. His eyes searched hers like he needed her to believe him, like he couldn't stand the idea of her not believing him. But her mind was spinning. Every look he'd given her at the office, every pause, every quiet moment by the fire. Was it all real? Or just another power play? I should sleep, she said finally, backing away. Alone. Sophia. Don't. She turned, walked to her room, and shut the door quietly. But she didn't sleep. Couldn't. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the storm. Every sound outside felt like a reflection of what was unraveling inside her. And somewhere deep down, it wasn't just the betrayal she feared. It was the possibility that this weekend had meant more to her than it ever could to him. The next morning, Sunlight poured in through the frost-covered windows. The storm had passed, but the snow still covered everything like a thick, white blanket. Still no signal. Sophia emerged from her room with dark circles under her eyes. Liam was already awake, sitting by the fire, staring into it like it held answers. Neither of them spoke. She poured herself a mug of tea and sat across the room from him. The warmth of the fire didn't reach her chest. Finally, he said, "I didn't sleep either." She didn't respond. "I kept thinking about what you said and how it must have sounded. That message." She stared into her mug. What did she mean by, "You'll lose everything"? What exactly is she threatening? Liam sighed. The board has always been cautious about my decisions. They think I'm too young, too emotional. Dating someone in the company, especially someone like you, would give them ammunition to push me out. "Someone like me?" she asked sharply. "I didn't mean it like that," he said quickly. "I mean someone not at the top, someone who actually works, who matters." She blinked. That wasn't the answer she expected. "I've seen what they do to people," he continued. "They don't care about who you are, just your title, your leverage, your last name." He looked at her, eyes raw. "You're different. You see people. You listen. That scares them. And it scares me, too." "Why?" she asked quietly. "Because I care," he said. "And I didn't plan to." The words hung between them. Sophia swallowed hard. "What exactly are you saying?" Liam stood, walked over, and knelt beside her chair. "That this wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. And if I could choose between keeping my title or risking something real with you, I'd choose you." Her throat tightened. "You don't even know me." He gave a small, pained smile. "Then let me." She looked into his eyes. No walls, no games. And suddenly, the version of Liam Hart she knew from the office felt like a stranger. This man, warm, vulnerable, honest, was someone else entirely. Someone real. Sophia stood slowly, heart racing. "I need a walk." She opened the door and stepped into the snow. The cold hit her cheeks, fresh and biting. She trudged down the trail behind the cabin, her boots sinking deep with each step. The trees sparkled with frost. The sky was a soft, forgiving blue. But her mind was anything but clear. She thought about her life. How carefully she had built it. How much effort she had put into being invisible, professional, untouchable. And now this. A billionaire who'd never looked her way suddenly wanted something real? She leaned against a tree, heart pounding. Was it madness? Or was it finally a moment that was hers? Behind her, footsteps. Liam. He didn't speak right away, just stood beside her in the snow, breathing hard from the cold and the effort. "Why did you follow me?" she asked softly. "Because I don't want to pretend anymore," he said. "Not with you." She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm scared." "So am I," he said, "but I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." The wind rustled the trees gently, brushing snow from the branches. The world was still, as if waiting for her answer. And in that pause, she reached out and took his hand, just once, and didn't let go. But as they turned back toward the cabin, a new noise echoed in the distance, a mechanical hum. Sophia froze. "Do you hear that?" Liam squinted toward the road. Then he cursed under his breath. A snowplow. Relief washed over them, mixed with something sharper. Reality. The way back was open now, but neither of them knew what that meant anymore. By midday, the plow had cleared enough of the road to make it passable. The snow was still thick in parts, but the silence of being completely cut off was gone. Sophia stood at the window, arms folded, watching the tire tracks stretch back toward the world they'd left behind. It had only been 2 days, but it felt like they'd lived an entire life inside that cabin. Liam stood a few steps behind her, his expression unreadable. "I'll call a driver to come pick us up," he said. Sophia nodded, her heart suddenly heavier than the snow outside. Neither of them moved. The bags were already packed. The fire was dying. The cabin that had once felt too close now felt like the last safe place on Earth. "I don't want to go back and pretend," Sophia said, her voice low. Liam took a slow breath. "You won't have to." She turned to face him. "How can you say that? In the office, you're someone else, one cold, distant. You have to be." "I'm tired of that version of me," he said. "Maybe I needed this weekend to remember who I was before all of it." She looked away. "What if that version of you doesn't survive out there?" He stepped closer. "Then let's find out together." There was something raw in his voice. Not a grand declaration, not some cinematic promise. Just truth. Just him. And that scared her more than anything else. The ride back to the city was quiet. Sophia sat by the window of the sleek black SUV, watching the trees slip by, her breath fogging up the glass. Liam sat beside her, hands folded, staring straight ahead. Neither said a word, but both of them felt it. The space between them was filled with everything unsaid. The warmth of shared soup, the weight of old wounds, the moment in the snow when their hands found each other like instinct. When they arrived at the edge of downtown, the car slowed. "I'll have them drop you off first," Liam said. "No," Sophia said quickly. "Take your stop. I'll grab a cab from your place." Liam frowned. "You sure?" She nodded. "I need a minute." His eyes searched hers, looking for something he couldn't name. He wanted to say something, maybe everything, but instead he just gave a small nod. "Okay." The car pulled up in front of Liam's penthouse building, glass and steel reaching into the sky. He opened the door, then turned back. "This doesn't have to be the end of whatever this is." Sophia managed a small smile. "But maybe it has to be the pause." He nodded, lips pressed tight, then stepped out. The door shut. The silence returned. But this time, it hurt. 2 weeks passed, work resumed, and the world moved on like nothing had ever happened. Sophia was back in her cubicle, back in her routine, emails, deadlines, strategy calls, all the same faces, all the same rhythms. Only now, every time she walked past the executive floor, her chest tightened. Liam was different too, more focused, sharper. But his eyes lingered on her in meetings. His tone softened when he addressed her. And twice, she caught him looking at her like he was remembering something that made his breath catch. But they never spoke outside work. Not once. And it killed her. Until one morning, she arrived at her desk and found a small white envelope. No name, no stamp, just her initials, written in neat cursive. Inside, a simple note. "If we were strangers again, and I met you at that cabin, I'd still fall for you. L." Sophia sat still, her hand trembling. Part of her wanted to run to him that second, to throw caution into the wind. But something held her back. Not fear, not pride. Something deeper. A need to know what this really was. If it was real beyond the storm, beyond the fireplace, beyond the snow. That evening, she left the office without saying goodbye. And that night, she sat on her apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker. The cold breeze on her skin reminded her of the mountains, of a fire, of the way he'd looked at her when the rest of the world disappeared. She whispered to the sky, "Do I trust him? or do I just want to? The next morning, something changed. HR sent out a company-wide email. Miranda Lynn resigns from Heart and Veil's board, effective immediately. Sophia stared at the screen. She reread it 3 times. Then her phone buzzed. A single message. From Liam. It's done. I chose what mattered. Now I'm just hoping you still do too. She stared at the message for what felt like forever. And then, she replied, "Come find me, but not at work." That night, she waited outside the small cafe near her apartment. It was quiet, mostly empty. A few tables with couples leaning in close. Fairy lights strung above the entrance swayed gently in the wind. And then he appeared. No suit, no driver, just Liam. Hair slightly windblown, jacket open, and in his eyes, not the intensity of a man trying to win, but the softness of someone ready to risk everything. He walked straight to her. No hesitation. They stood face to face, everything in the world fading around them. Sophia looked up at him. So, no more hiding? He shook his head. Never again. She searched his face, like reading a page she already knew by heart. And the company? He smiled, eyes warm. Let them watch. I'm done choosing power over people. She exhaled slowly. Good. Then, for the first time outside the snow, outside the storm, outside the safety of that wooden cabin, she leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was quiet, real, like a promise whispered between 2 hearts that had been waiting too long. When they pulled apart, Sophia smiled. Guess fate knows how to make a booking mistake after all. He chuckled. Best glitch of my life. They turned toward the cafe together, fingers brushing. But just as they stepped inside, Sophia's phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Careful who you trust. Not everyone's finished playing the game. She stopped in her tracks, breath catching. Liam saw the look on her face. What is it? She showed him the screen. His expression darkened. The storm might be over, but some shadows don't melt with the snow. Sophia stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Careful who you trust. Not everyone's finished playing the game. No name, no context. Just a warning, short, cold, and unsettling. Liam took her phone gently, reading it again. His face changed, not with fear, but with recognition. He knew something. Liam, she said quietly, do you know who sent this? He exhaled slowly, then looked her in the eyes. I think I have an idea. Is it Miranda? Could be, but she resigned. She's out. I made sure of it. Sophia shook her head, heart thudding. Then who would want to send me something like this? And why now? Liam hesitated. The truth is, I've made enemies. People who don't like that, I've been shifting the company in a new direction, cutting out toxic leadership, pushing for transparency. Some of the old guard aren't thrilled about it. So this could be someone trying to scare me off, she said. Or trying to scare us, Liam replied. Whatever this is becoming between us, someone doesn't want it to grow. Sophia looked down at her phone. The message felt more invasive the longer she held it. A digital whisper that knew too much. Liam stepped closer. Look, I know this is a lot, and you didn't ask for any of it. But I meant what I said. I'm not hiding anymore. She searched his face, his openness, his calm, the way he stood there ready to protect, not possess. I believe you, she said softly. But I won't lie. It still scares me. He nodded. Then let's take it one day at a time. Over the next few days, things shifted. They didn't tell anyone at work. Not yet. But there were signs. Small things. A glance in the hallway. A moment longer in the break room. a post-it note tucked behind her monitor that simply read, "Coffee after 6," in Liam's unmistakable handwriting. But the messages didn't stop. Every few nights, another one. Always vague. Always from a blocked number. "He's not telling you everything. Don't trust what feels easy. You weren't his first. You won't be his last." Each one chipped at her peace like a fingernail peeling paint. She didn't tell Liam about every message. Not because she didn't trust him, but because part of her didn't trust herself. Didn't trust the ache in her chest. The way her doubts whispered at night when she replayed every word, every look, every pause. Then, one evening, she got a message that stopped her cold. "Check room 47, Edison Hotel, Friday night, 8 p.m., if you want the truth." It was Thursday. Sophia stared at the screen for a long time. Then she slipped the phone into her bag and said nothing. The next day felt normal, too normal. Liam stopped by her desk, leaned in slightly. "Still on for tonight?" She forced a smile. "Of course." He smiled and walked away. She stared after him, heart pounding. She knew she should tell him, but something told her she needed to see it for herself. Friday night, 7:55 p.m. She stood outside room 47 in the Edison Hotel. The hallway was quiet, carpeted, dim. Her hand hovered over the door. What was she expecting? A scandal? A secret life? Another woman? Old files? Or nothing at all, just a cruel prank? She took a breath and knocked. No answer. She knocked again, heart racing. Still nothing. Her hand reached for the doorknob. It was unlocked. The door creaked open. The room was empty. No lights on, no bags, no one inside, except one thing. A manila envelope on the bed, her name written across the front. She stepped in, slowly, and picked it up. Inside, photos. Dozens. Sophia stared, breath catching. They were of her and Liam, at the cabin, by the fire, holding hands in the snow, at the cafe, on her balcony. Private moments. Intimate. Candid. Someone had been watching them. She dropped the photos, hands trembling. And that's when she heard the door click shut behind her. She spun around. The room was empty. The hallway, silent. Whoever had left those photos had been close, and they wanted her to know it. Back at her apartment, she locked every bolt, pulled the curtains tight, and sat on the floor with the envelope in her lap. Her phone buzzed again. One more message. Still feel like this is real? This time, she didn't cry. She got up, grabbed her keys, and went straight to Liam's building. He opened the door looking surprised, then concerned. "Sophia, what happened?" She walked past him without a word, dropped the envelope on his counter, and turned. "Someone's watching us, Liam." He opened the envelope, flipped through the photos. His face went pale. "This isn't just corporate politics," she said. "This is personal, and whoever it is, they've been close. Since the cabin. Maybe even before." He stared at the photos like they were knives. "I'm calling a private investigator," he said immediately. "I'll pay whatever it takes. We're going to find out who's behind this." "We?" she repeated, searching his face. He looked at her, eyes fierce and unwavering. "Yes, we. I'm not leaving you to handle this alone." She felt the tears sting behind her eyes, but not from fear, from the strange, fierce relief of being chosen, not protected, not pitied, but stood with. Then he added softer, "But if you want to walk away from all this, from me, I'll understand." She stepped closer. "I'm not going anywhere." He exhaled slowly and pulled her into his arms. And this time, the quiet wasn't a storm waiting to hit. It was a shelter. But just before sleep took them, Sophia whispered into the dark, Whoever this is, they knew how to find me. Not you. Me. Liam didn't respond right away. Then, quietly, "That's what scares me most." The next few days blurred. Liam made good on his promise, hired a private investigator, increased security on both their apartments, and had Sophia's phone swept for spyware. She hated the intrusion, but more than that, she hated the growing feeling in her gut. This wasn't about Liam anymore. It was about her. One morning, Sophia found herself staring at her reflection in the mirror, really looking at her eyes, the lines at the corners, the weight of everything she hadn't said aloud. Who had been watching her? Who wanted to make her doubt what they had? And then it clicked. Not who had the power to do this, but who cared enough to. Later that day, Liam came into her office quietly. "The PI found something. He wants to meet. You should come." They met at a quiet diner in Midtown. The investigator, a calm, middle-aged man with gray at his temples, slid a folder across the table. I traced the messages and the envelope. Sophia reached for it with trembling fingers. Inside were phone records, access logs, surveillance captures from the hotel lobby, and one name circled in red: Elena da Costa. Sophia blinked. Her voice came out small. That's not possible." Liam leaned in. "Who is she?" Sophia was still staring at the name like it would disappear if she just denied it hard enough. "She was my best friend," she whispered. "In college. We were roommates. We did everything together." The PI continued gently. "Her name showed up in the guest log of the Edison Hotel 3 days before that envelope was found. The messages came from a proxy server linked to an apartment in her name." Sophia's voice cracked. "We haven't talked in years." "Why?" Liam asked. Sophia swallowed. "We were both auditioning for a performing arts grant. Only one slot left. I got it." She looked down at her hands. "She never forgave me." That night, Liam drove her to the address the PI provided, a quiet brownstone in Brooklyn. Sophia stood on the sidewalk for a long time before finally walking up the steps. Liam stayed behind, giving her space. Elena opened the door after the third knock. She looked almost the same. Tired eyes, dark hair pulled into a tight bun, mouth a little too tight at the corners. But her face froze when she saw Sophia. "Wow," Elena said. "I was wondering when you'd show up." Sophia stepped inside. "Why?" Elena gave a short laugh. "You're not even going to pretend you don't know why?" "I don't." "You got everything, Sophia. Back then and now. You were always the girl people wanted. You lit up the room. And I was just the shadow behind you." "That's not true." Elena's smile was bitter. "Liam Hart, of all the men, you really thought I wouldn't notice you walking into that office, acting like you were nobody, when I know exactly what you're capable of?" Sophia stepped back. "You followed me? I watched you settle, hide, and then, finally, win again." Elena's eyes shimmered. "You got him. You got everything. And no one even knew your name." Sophia's heart cracked. "So you sent those messages? The photos?" "I didn't want to hurt you," Elena said, suddenly tired. "I just wanted you to see what it's like, to be doubted, to feel invisible." Sophia's voice broke. "You were never invisible. I would have given that scholarship up in a heartbeat if I'd known how much it cost you. But you never told me. You just disappeared." Elena looked away. Silence stretched between them. Then Sophia stepped closer. "You're right, Elena. I did hide, for years, because I was afraid of my own light, afraid of what it cost to shine. But that weekend," she stopped. "No, that moment, It reminded me that some things are worth the risk. Elena's eyes filled. She blinked fast, but the tears slipped through anyway. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I am too," Sophia said. They stood there, surrounded by everything unsaid. Forgiveness didn't come in a single moment. But maybe, it started there. When Sophia returned to the car, Liam didn't say anything. He just looked at her. Really looked. "Well?" he asked softly. She didn't smile. Not yet. But her voice had clarity in it again. Strength. "She lost herself," Sophia said, "and somehow thought taking something from me would bring her back." Liam reached for her hand. "You okay?" "I will be." A week passed. The photos stopped. The messages, too. Elena sent an apology, one line at a time. They weren't friends again, not like before. But something began to heal in the space between them. And Sophia? She started to live, not just exist. She signed up for an open mic night at a local jazz lounge. The first time in years. Her hands shook the entire time, but she sang. And when she finished, Liam stood and clapped like it was a sold-out concert. She let herself laugh again, speak up in meetings, take up space, and she let herself be loved. Not in a fairy tale kind of way, in a real, messy, earned kind of way. One night, months later, they returned to the mountains. Not the same cabin, but close. They stood outside on a porch in the cold, wrapped in blankets and memory. Liam looked at her with that quiet gaze he always saved for her. "If someone had told me the storm would bring me you," she smiled, "I wouldn't have believed it either." He kissed her then, not to prove anything, not to seal a deal, just to say, "I'm here." And finally, so was she. The cabin was different this time. Not as big, not as perfect. But it didn't matter. There were still pine trees whispering in the wind, a fire crackling inside, and 2 coffee mugs sitting on the porch railing, steaming, waiting. Liam stood behind Sophia, arms wrapped around her waist, chin resting lightly on her shoulder. They watched the snow fall together in soft, heavy flakes, the kind that made the world quiet without asking permission. "How many months has it been?" she asked softly. "Since the storm." She nodded. 6, give or take. Feels like a lifetime. He kissed the side of her head. Or the start of one. She smiled, leaning into him. "It's funny. That weekend, I kept wishing to be alone. All I wanted was silence, peace. And now? I want your voice in the silence," she said. "Your breathing while I sleep. The weight of your hand finding mine without needing words." He turned her gently to face him. "I've never been good with words, Sophia." She tilted her head. "Could have fooled me." He smiled, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I still remember that first night. You were standing in the firelight, arguing about soup." "Best soup I've ever had," she said. "You didn't say that then." "I was trying to hate you," she whispered. "It didn't work." His eyes softened. "I was trying to hide from you. That didn't work either." They stood like that for a while. 2 people who had carried the weight of too many lonely years. 2 people who had mistaken silence for safety and realized, too late, that love wasn't the absence of chaos. It was the person who made the chaos worth surviving. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled something small and velvet. Sophia's breath caught. But when he opened the box, it wasn't a ring. It was a key. She blinked. "What's this?" "To my place," he said. "The real one. The one where I leave dishes in the sink and burn toast and walk around barefoot at midnight trying to write ideas in my notes app?" She laughed. "So not the one with the glass elevator and the robot vacuum?" "No," he said. "The one with a couch big enough for two people who sometimes fight and always make up." Her voice cracked. "Liam." He held up a hand. "No pressure, no timeline. Just a step forward, if you want it." She stared at the key, and suddenly she saw it all. Sunday mornings, shared coffee mugs, arguments over which takeout place to order from, kisses in the kitchen, music echoing through the hall. A home made not of walls, but of understanding. Sophia looked up at him. Then she slipped the key into her coat pocket and stood on her toes to kiss him. Not like in the movies, like someone who had finally come home. The next morning, they made breakfast together. Burned eggs, too much toast, laughter spilling out of the windows. And later, while cleaning up, Sophia stopped in the middle of the kitchen, spoon in hand. Liam looked at her. "What?" She tilted her head. "You know I never answered your question." He leaned on the counter. "Which one?" "That first night, when you asked why I came to the cabin." He smiled. "You said you needed quiet." "I lied," she said softly. "I didn't need quiet. I needed to be seen." Liam crossed the room, took the spoon from her hand, and set it down. Then he cupped her face and said the words she hadn't known she'd been aching to hear for years. "I see you, Sophia." And this time, she didn't look away. Later, as the snow melted and the trees shook off winter's weight, they packed up the car and drove down the mountain. Two people who had walked into a storm as strangers and walked out of it as something more, not perfect, but real. And sometimes, real is exactly what the heart's been waiting for. The end. Have you ever met someone who saw you before you saw yourself? Tell me, what moment in your life felt like the beginning of something unexpected, but meant to be? I'd love to hear your story.